Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. Well, it is a good evening to you, and how you be? William Haynes here, you there, here at 11:52 on the William Haynes Show, as always live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. A rare weekend program for me, the Sunday night special of the William Haynes Show. So much to discuss. Not only tonight's 2-1 win over the Houston Astros in Game 1 of the American League Championship Series, we also have a pretty important game that happened on Friday night against the New York Yankees. I got a monologue, got a clip, all that stuff I know you guys like. So we're not going to take calls just yet. We'll probably, after the monologue, take a break and then come back, take your guys' phone calls. After that, if you want to talk about the Rays win, I'll give you inning-by-inning breakdown. I got the scorecard in front of me. But before we do any of that, I think we have to do justice to the Rays' 2-1 win over the Yankees in Game 5 of the ALDS. It meant so much, and I have something prepared, but it just, not just for this year, and not just to advance to the next playoff round, but really just to kind of put the Yankees where they belong, in the back seat. The Yankees have been the big bad bully to us for so long, and to finally hand them a loss in the postseason. I mean, you can have the 8-2 record against them in the regular season, but if you lose to them in October, it doesn't matter. So now we have a legitimate case that, you know, we're better than the Yankees. We've put ourselves above them in the American League East for years to come, hopefully. So it's just so meaningful, and just all the drama in Game 2 really could, or in Game 5 rather, couldn't have been done any better. So take it away.
This is late in the ball game, and you can see Cervelli just completely wiped out by Elliott Johnson. Looked more like a football play. And Cervelli calling for help right away. His wrist was broken.
3 or 4 days later, Shelley Duncan slid into second base, and he got immediately ejected. Here's Tampa and the Yankees in a preseason brawl.
2-2 and a line shot down the left field line. That ball is gone, and the Rays win it. A line drive home run by Evan Longoria, and the Rays storm the field. It's an 8-7 final on Longoria's second home run of the night. And moments after, Baltimore comes back to beat the Red Sox. The Rays win it on the home run by Longoria. And Oscar Romine will lead off the sixth. And this one behind Romine, and down he goes. Romine gets up with a look toward the mound. And And Sucre intervening, and shows Vic Carapazza, who now issuing a warning.
Sucre leads off. And he hits him, and now CC just lost himself $500,000 as he's thrown out of the game. That was the perfect guy to throw out. Sucre, the catcher, after they threw at Romine. And that's why CC's teammates love him, David. CC don't play.
Higashioka goes through the side, and now here's the 1-2 or 1-0 pitch to Wendell, and that one did hit him. And so they pitched him inside a couple of times, and a fastball got him, and Wendell took it off the elbow. He's got a big smile on his face as he heads down to first base. And he didn't get out of the way, he just took it. The first pitch on its way. Look out, over his head. Are you kidding me? He's done that to all three batters now.
He's getting a little nuts.
And I was noticing Kevin Cash looking the way he was looking, and there's some barking now. Got to be kind of, but that's three straight up and in against the Rays hitters. And now the umpires are coming together, and I don't know if they're going to discuss whether that might have nicked them or if they got to issue warnings, because that's a joke.
We've gone battles, and look, you're going to get some of this at the time when you're playing a short season with so many games, but it's absolutely ridiculous. It was mishandled by the Yankees. Certainly the pitcher on the mound. It was mishandled by the umpires. They hit Joey Wendell intentionally in the first inning. It was clear as day. Chapman comes in, he throws three different balls up and in. I get it, they don't like being thrown up and in, but enough's enough. We were talking about a 100-mile-an-hour fastball over a young man's head. It makes no sense. It's poor judgment, poor coaching. It's just poor teaching what they're doing and what they're allowing to do. The chirping from the dugout. I mean, somebody would have to tell me, go pull the numbers, who's hit who more. But I can assure you, other than the 3 years ago, there hasn't been one pitch thrown with intent from any of our guys, period. Somebody's got to be accountable. And the last thing I'll say on it is I got a whole damn stable full of guys that throw 98 miles an hour, period.
Pitch due to him. Here it is. Swinging a long drive, deep to left field. Going back is Gardner, all the way to the wall. It's gone! A home run for Mike Brasso. The Rays have taken a 2-1 lead, and sweet justice in San Diego. Mike Brasso has turned this series on its ear with a solo home run, battling from 0-2 to a 3-2 count, and taking Chapman into the lower deck and left, and the Rays are 3 outs away from the League Championship Series.
Now the ready, the 2-2 pitch on its way. Strike 3 called. It was boxed by Perez. He couldn't hold on, but he'll go pick it up and tag out Stanton, and there's one. The 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and there's one more to go. Diego ready to go. The first pitch on its way. Swing and a line drive left side of the infield. Fielded by Wendell. He made the catch. Rays win! Rays win! Rays win! They're staying in San Diego, and they're on their way to the American League Championship Series as they knock off the New York Yankees 2-1. They light up the Trop as the Rays eliminate the New York Yankees from the 2020 postseason.
When Elliott Johnson collided with Yankee catcher Francisco Cervelli at home plate in a spring training game in 2008, we all knew things were bound to change. Up to that point in Rays history, all they had been was a punching bag to the Yankees and Red Sox and routinely finished dead last in the American League East. Well, after that fateful day in 2008, the Rays would go on to win the division and parlay that magical run into their only World Series appearance. But the point was that the Rays would no longer be bullied by their proverbial big brother that not only had their spring training home in Tampa, but turned Rays-Yankees series in the Trop into New York home games. The Rays would make the playoffs again in 2010 and 2011, but then it seemed like the Yankees resumed their role as the big bad bully. Fast forward to late September 2018 in a game where CC Sabathia ran a pitch inside to Ray Jake Bowers and hit him on the knuckles. Ray hurler Andrew Kittredge took exception and hit the first Yankee to come up in the next inning. And of course, CC retaliated the following inning. Only the Yankees, I think, could pull off retaliating against something they initiated. Surprisingly, it took about another 2 calendar years for the next chapter in this budding rivalry to be written. On September 1st of this year, Joey Wendell came up with 2 outs in the first inning and the bases empty. On the first pitch, Yankee Masahiro Tanaka aims at Wendell's belt, but Wendell is able to step back and avoid the pitch. Next pitch, Tanaka aims for the belt once again, and this time makes his target. Wendell was shown smiling wide on his trot to first base, and it seemed like he knew what was afoot. Going into that game, the Yankees had done a lot of belly aching about the Rays pitching inside to them, and I guess deciding to do something about it. Unfortunately, the Yankees hadn't finished their petty games for the night. Aroldis Chapman came on for the save in the 9th inning of that 5-2 game. The only problem was that he threw at every batter he faced, including 101 miles an hour, right to the head of Mike Brasso. Tension was high after the game, including a bench-clearing scuffle, and both teams' managers with choice words to the media. Cash's quote of "he's got a whole stable of guys who throw 98" went viral and became the calling card for Rays fans responding to the Savages in the box debacle the Yanks had in 2019. We weren't sure how much opportunity there would be for retaliation, as there was only one more regular season meeting between the teams. But the next day provided plenty of fireworks. Tampa Bay put up 4 runs in the first inning, including a Brasso homer, and knocked the starter Jordan Montgomery out of the game in that first inning. Lo and behold, the Rays and Yankees would meet again about a month later, with the most stakes ever on the line for a series between the two clubs. I'll save you all the events of the ALDS because of course you were watching it as well, but with how much drama has surfaced between these teams, an at-bat between Mike Brasso and Aroldis Chapman, and a 1-1 game in the 8th inning of a winner-take-all Game 5 was nothing short of something belonging in a Hollywood script. Brasso hit the ball into the left field stands on the 10th pitch of the at-bat to cement himself as a Rays hero forever and sent his team to their first ALCS since 2008. You know this was a meaningful narrative when I didn't spend any time talking about the utterly bizarre rematch with the Houston Astros with a trip to the World Series on the line again. I can't reiterate enough. I think this series, whether of course, if they go in to win the World Series, that'll be the trademark. But the fact that we sent the New York Yankees home in a best-of-5, they had no excuses. I don't care about the starting pitching injuries, the guys they didn't have, no off days, whatever. In a best-of-5, we faced Garrett Cole twice, and it ended up taking the series in 5 games, gave him the gut punch once again to Chapman. It feels so great, and I'm glad that the Rays, of course, took Game 1 tonight, and I guess now transferring a little bit over to that, I like kind of how they match up. I don't think we had any time to really preview this series because last time we spoke was after a Game 4 loss when things were looking a little bit bleak. So now transferring or transitioning over to this next series, I think we look good. I think the win tonight was so important just to get on the board there again in the win column. One of probably their best starter right now, depending on how you feel about Zach Greinke, went out in Framber Valdez. He gave him 6 innings, a 2-run ball. They had to use a couple of I think just one of their A bullpen guys, or actually 2 of them, I think. So Rays didn't have to use any of their A pen guys besides Castillo. I think just a really interesting start from Blake Snell that'll go down, I think, in Rays history as being just kind of a quirky little thing. But we'll talk about all that during the remainder of the show. Again, Sunday night special on the William Haynes Show. We're going to take a short break, allow some of the calls to roll in. We do have a line open currently, so when I'm on break, the number to call is 877-566-1020. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, sports fans. William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBC Stream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCstream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
HBC. And at 12:05 here on this very early Monday morning, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Again, number to call. We still have a line open. It's 877-566-1020. You want to come on, talk Rays? We'd be more than happy to have you on. All that we have really to discuss, of course, the game tonight. There's a game tomorrow that is going to be Lance McCullers Jr., the right-hander, against another right-hander in Charlie Morton. We'll talk a little bit more about how maybe the pitching lines up for the rest of the series. But I think really just digging into this game here tonight, 2-1 win. It was the Astros got a run in the first inning. It was a solo home run for Jose Altuve. They didn't get a run the rest of the way. And then the Rays tie it in the fourth with a solo shot from Arozarena and take the lead on, what do you know, a Mike Zunino RBI single. Going into that at bat, I figure no way Zunino will ever hit a single in his life. It just seems like he's the ultimate home run or strikeout guy, but ends up coming through, scores Adames. That made it 2-1, and again, that was in the fifth. There was no runs the rest of the way, although it got really close, really, for both sides. Really typical game for the Rays in that they went 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position and left a total of 9 men on base. What if I told you that Zunino was the only Ray tonight that would come through with runners in scoring position? It's just a weird time we live in. Not just 2020, but October specifically is getting wild. Of course, the stuff with Castillo, but again, 2-1 win for the Rays. They take a 1-0 lead in a best-of-7 in a team I think that they're much better than. The Rays much better than the Houston Astros. That is, for the Rays, it was 2 runs on 6 hits, no errors. And then for the Astros, it was 1 run on 9 hits. So they did out-hit the Rays, and there was an error. I think there was multiple that should have been scored, but they're going for hits these days. That's just kind of how things work. But so again, when you get out-hit, and you're so poor with runners in scoring position, and you still go out and win the game, I think that's huge. I think that was, obviously it's due to the pitching. Blake Snell with a real gutsy performance, I'd say. I guess that would be a little bit nice to him. And then really what the bullpen did, it seemed like everyone got in a little bit of trouble. We know with the Aaron Loop causing the mess, and I think we all would have preferred to see really anyone else in that spot. But then Castillo comes on and gets the big double play, 1 pitch, and I thought maybe he'd be done at that point, and then they could just save him for tomorrow, because at this point, 17 pitches thrown, he's pitched 4 out of the last 6 days. I think he's out for tomorrow. Good news is they should have Fairbanks and Nick Anderson back in the mix, so I think with Charlie Morton giving him 5, you can probably get another 2 from Nick Anderson, and then you're needing 6 more outs after that, so whether it's 3 from Fairbanks and then they tag him along. Honestly, that spot for Aaron Loop, and I probably should save this for a little bit later, I honestly would have liked to see Jose Alvarado in that spot. If you're going to put on a lefty, a kind of a low-leverage guy, because, not that it was a low-leverage spot. The Rays had the lead at that point, and you put on Aaron Loop. Guys that they could have gone with, options were kind of thin, honestly. Aaron Slegers, who wouldn't pitch, I don't think. Well, I guess that's right. They have 14 pitchers on the roster. I'll tell you that now. The roster, they did change it up a little bit. The only changes that I saw, they took out Brett Phillips and then replaced him with Jose Alvarado, and obviously Oliver Drake comes out. They actually, I think, DFA'd him, but I think that's just to get him on the injured list. And they replace him with Josh Fleming, which makes more sense than having Trevor Richards. So those were all the moves that were made. And I think it made sense. The 14 pitchers, so they add on another one compared to the best of 5. It makes sense. This series goes 7 games in 7 days. You're going to need all that pitching depth. So just, I guess, going right down the line, the starters, as we know, Blake Snell, Charlie Morton, Tyler Glasnow. They have Ryan Yarbrough, a guy that will probably come in relief. They also have Josh Fleming, and then when it comes to left-handed relievers, they have Jose Alvarado, who hasn't thrown in a game since August the 14th. Also for left-handers, they've got Aaron Loop, and that's it. And then for right-handed relievers, obviously Nick Anderson, Diego Castillo, John Curtis, Peter Fairbanks, Aaron Slegers, and Ryan Thompson. I did forget Shane McClanahan is a guy that's a left-handed reliever. So now they do have 3 lefties, which I don't know. Against Houston, there's no real situation where you're going to need that. Michael Brantley is the only dangerous lefty. I mean, they've got Kyle Tucker, they've got Josh Reddick, but those guys aren't going to strike fear into you. I think the right-handers that we have can take care of those guys just fine. And looking at some of these guys' splits, a lot of our right-handers are good against righties and lefties, so I guess handedness, not necessarily an issue, but I look forward to seeing Alvarado. He looks like he's trimmed down a little bit. Again, hasn't pitched in a game since August 14th with the various injuries that he's had. We know in 2019 he got injured early on, and then he had to go home to Venezuela for a family issue, and then he came back, and then I think kind of like re-injured and just was just ineffective all the way around. And then they just shut him down the rest of the year, and then kind of the same thing this year, just hasn't been reliable, really struggles with control. But again, I mean, that spot with Aaron Loop, he faced, let's see, looking at the scorecard, he faced Michael Brantley, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Kyle Tucker. I mean, that's the heart of the order for Houston, and you really want Aaron Loop in that spot? And Aaron Loop hasn't pitched in a while as well, and I think that really showed. He hit a batter on his first pitch. Also, wild pitch. I'll give the credit to Andy Freed on the radio call on WDAE. Basically, you know, him not being sharp, him not knowing, or not. It's not that he doesn't know how to aim pitches, but just because he hadn't done it in a game. You spot in a 2-1 game, you spot the Astros a runner in scoring position because you can't get the ball to the catcher where it needs to be. So that was unfortunate. Not that Jose Alvarado would have done any better. So that's just that's my piece on it. That's where I stand. They go with 2 catchers again, which I think makes sense. I understand people that want 3 catchers. I understand that you want to pinch hit and all that stuff. I just think I'd rather have that extra pitcher. And I wouldn't want to mess anything around with the infield. Having Kevin Smith on the roster, I don't think is going to make that much of an impact. They had a spot to pinch hit for Mike Zunino tonight in the 7th inning. I understand it was against a lefty, so you wanted that righty on lefty, and Zunino had come through with an RBI single. It came with Kevin Kiermaier at second with nobody out. I didn't care. I would have rather kind of seen one of the lefties in that spot, but they go with Zunino. He ends up striking out. So you live and you die by that, basically. You can't be mad at Big Z. He came through in a big way tonight. Game-winning hit in the 5th inning. Infielders the same. I mean, Adames, Brasso, Choi, Yandy Diaz, Brandon Loud, Joey Wendell, you know, the cast of characters. And now with Brett Phillips coming out of the outfield, you basically have, I would say, 5 outfielders. You've got Kevin Kiermaier, who's going to play center. Margot can also play center as kind of a defensive sub situation, but he's going to play the corners. Austin Meadows, who didn't play tonight, and Hunter Renfroe, who finally got some time in right field and seemed to navigate that right field in Petco Park a lot better than Manny Margot did in the ALDS. And then, of course, Randy Arozarena, and then Yoshi Tsutsugo is on the roster, and he'll get some time against righties. I don't think in the outfield. I don't think at third base. I think he's really shoehorned into a DH spot, and I think it was good to see Yandy Diaz play first and look relatively good there. I mean, he's not a good first baseman, and he did have a couple of questionable kind of things going on over there. He's no G-Man Choi, but if you know, I don't think there's going to be too many opportunities where you're going to be going up against left-handed starting pitching. But you have that flexibility where you can go with Yandy Diaz at first base, and especially tagging him up with Brasso at third instead of Joey Wendell. They were able to pinch run for Diaz when he gets on, and that way, okay, who's going to be the first baseman? You just move Brasso over there, and then you have Joey go to play third base. So it works out that way, and obviously, I mean, Choi, a guy that could have come in to play first base. I think Hunter Renfroe did it I think he did it for a full game against the Phillies on the last weekend, but probably don't want to test your luck there. Yoshi, I know, played the first base in Japan, but hasn't got any time in the majors for the Rays, so that's where it all stands with that. So pretty much the same roster. I was a bit surprised maybe to see Shane McClanahan on there again, but they're committing to the bit, I guess. They're kind of going for that David Price thing where trial by fire, because if you remember with David Price, he pitched in the postseason And he started off the next season, 2009, he started in the minors. So it wasn't like, he was up to the majors for good. And although he pitched very good in that 2008 postseason, still had a little bit of work to be done in the minor leagues, and he sends back down. So I think it's that situation for McClanahan. And let's not forget, Shane McClanahan, at least the way he's listed, he's a starting pitching prospect. I mean, he started pretty much every game that he played in Durham last season, so he's going to be a starting pitcher. He's not a guy that's going to come in and face 3 batters at the end of a game. So I don't think he's ready to be a major league starter just yet, but get him some crucial playing time. I mean, this series is huge. I mean, it's the first World Series trip since 2008 is on the line. COVID season aside, I think, obviously the goal is always to win the championship. So I'm a bit surprised to see McClanahan. I do understand. I mean, your only other options was Ryan Sheriff, which I think some people might have preferred, a left-hander that I think might handle the moment a little better. I don't know about that per se. And then Trevor Richards, which I think everyone was adamant about not having on the roster. And I think Josh Fleming, even with the righty-lefty, I think Josh Fleming makes a lot more sense to be a bulk guy. I wasn't anticipating, honestly, to see him this postseason, but with the nature of the 7 games in 7 days, depending on how far the series goes, they may need him. I saw something with Tyler Glasnow that I guess he could. The explanation was that he could basically pitch Game 3 if they treat his Game 5 appearance as a bullpen, because as you know, like in a regular season, for example, a starting pitcher pitches every 5th day, so 4 days of rest. But it's not like they're just sitting in the dugout for 4 days. I mean, they throw like a 25, 30 pitch bullpen, whatever. So in that Game 5, Glasnow threw 37 pitches. Obviously, a lot more intense. I don't think any pitcher has ever thrown a bullpen in a 9-game situation that was as intense as Glasnow was throwing in Game 5. But I don't think they're going to do that. I would probably go with Yarbrough, and then if you wanted, you could do a little tandem thing with Yarbrough and Fleming, or you go Yarbrough and Sleggers, who should be ready to go. I think they may want to save Fleming for later down the road. So they haven't announced, as far as I know, a starter for Game 3. I believe the Astros have. I need to pull up the schedule here. So we can see. I know tomorrow, as we said, it'll be Lance McCullers Jr. versus Charlie Morton, and no announced starters for Tuesday. And just so you know, tomorrow's game is on at 4:07 Eastern, so I'll be on after the game. So another kind of early show for me. I'm usually doing like kind of a late night type thing, but we'll probably be on at 7, 8 o'clock whenever the game ends. And then the rest of the way, it's TBD. I think it looks like, I don't know if it's a Fox thing or if an MLB thing. Let's be honest, Dodgers and Braves is going to get the prime time for playoffs. They're going to get that 7, 8 o'clock little grouping there. So that's fine, and I think it makes more sense also with Central and West Coast. I don't know. I don't necessarily need to get into the logistics of that. But just so if I was you and you weren't sure when the Rays would be playing, I would expect kind of that 4, 5 o'clock range, because obviously Major League Baseball loves the Dodgers, and of course if the Yankees had been in this ALCS instead of the Rays, it would have been the Yankees Astros getting prime time. But we all know Major League Baseball doesn't care about the Rays getting any exposure. They just care about their what do they call them, the golden child, as Pete Fairbanks said. I loved seeing that in that Game 5, a little post-game interview there. So again, Morton v. McCullers Jr. Tomorrow at 4:07. That's all we know for right now. Going back to Game 1, again, I'll give you the number if we've got people listening and you want to call in. 877-566-1020. If you want to break up my incoherent rambling a little bit, I'm good with that. Just my monotonous droning. Be more than happy. Got a line open, all that. But if not, talking more about the game, I got the scorecard in front of me. I filled out inning by inning, all that good stuff. We'll start with the lineup first. In the outfield from left to right, it was Margot in left, Kiermaier in center, Renfroe in right. And then in the infield from third to first, it was Brasso at third base, Willy Adames at shortstop, Brandon Lau at second base, Yandy Diaz played first, Mike Zunino was the catcher, and Randy Arozarena did the DHing duties, which a little surprising with how good of a defender he is, but they opt to go with Margot and Renfroe, and again, they just wanted to get as many right-handers possible against the lefty Valdez, and I think that worked out pretty well. And then the way the lineup was structured, Brasso led off, which of course you want to kind of ride that high. I would have loved to see him lead off in Game 5. He wasn't even in the starting lineup. They went with Meadows, who got the home run. So that's all fine and good. Followed by Arozarena, who has leapfrogged Lau, which I love that move up Arozarena a little bit. So now Lau is batting third. They had Yandy Diaz to bat cleanup, which I'll go off on. I'll do this now. I don't love Yandy Diaz batting cleanup. Whatever, I don't know. There's been talk that his swing isn't good this year. He's had trouble getting the timing down. Whatever the case, I don't know if it's fat or what. He looks a lot bigger this year than he did last year. I mean, you just look at him from the front view. I mean, he's just, and I know the biceps and everything, but he's just large. I don't know, just doesn't seem like maybe he's moving the bat as well as he did in the last couple years. I know that's why the Rays picked him up. They sent Jake Bauers to the Indians to get a guy in Yandy Diaz who could hit the ball hard. That's not what Yandy Diaz is anymore. Yandy Diaz is Kevin Youkilis. He's the I guess we'll call him the Cuban god of walks. That's all he does. He just takes pretty much every pitch in the at-bat. He'll foul some stuff off. I mean, I can't remember the last time, he actually got a base hit doing something. Let me just make sure he didn't get a base hit tonight. He did. Okay, no. Yeah, he did get a base hit, so he proves me wrong there. He pretty much, every time he puts the ball in play, he pulls it to the shortstop or to third base. And that was the case in his at-bat in the 8th inning, but it got poked through for a single. So that's pretty much, I guess, those are the 3 Yandy Diaz at-bats. It's a ground out to shortstop, a walk, or a strikeout. That's pretty much what Yandy Diaz is right now. That's not someone I want batting cleanup, because when you get the big boys on base, when you get, Brasso on, or Randy Arozarena, even Lau, who got on once, standing at first base, or standing at second base, what have you, I want a guy who can drive him in. I don't want a guy who's just going to walk and then, move the chain along to the next guy. That's not what a cleanup hitter is, but I don't know. We've messed around with a lot of different cleanup hitters. I mean, let's see, the guy, we had Ji-Man Choi hit cleanup in Game 5 against the Yanks, which I liked, although he went 0 for 2, got pinch hit by Brasso, and of course Brasso comes through, we all know. From that, so Diaz cleaned up, followed by Renfroe batting 5th, who I think looked a little bit better than the box score would indicate, 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. So yikes, playoff golden sombrero, and that's not what you want. But did play a good right field tonight. I think that's fine. You end up winning, so it's not a big deal, but I guess that's maybe one of the things you point to. He did not get an at-bat with runners in scoring position. Let me look. He got an at-bat with a man on. He struck out with Yandy Diaz at first. Then he struck out with Brandon Lau at first. Okay, yeah. And he struck out with Yandy Diaz at first again, and then he struck out with Yandy Diaz at first again. So yeah, I don't love that. Yeah, and that's exactly what that exactly proves my point. Is Yandy Diaz cleaning up instead of moving the runners over, what have you? He just walks, moves it down to the next guy for Hunter Renfroe, who's batting 5th, just to strike out, instead of moving the guys over. So Renfroe's strikeouts did come at pretty big spots, at least no runners in scoring position, but I think, yeah, all of them, or 3 of the 4, came with a man at first. So instead of kind of moving the chain along an unproductive out, I don't know. I've talked about this a lot on the show, and Andy Freed and Dave Wills talked a little bit about it on the broadcast as well, that Hunter Renfroe, he's a guy that needs everyday playing time. He's a big frame. I mean, let's not forget he was the 13th overall pick by the Padres out of Mississippi State, I want to say. He's a talented guy. He's a huge frame. He's a football player type. He's 6'2", probably 250. It's just huge frame. Put such a powerful swing with the bat. And in San Diego, when he plays 150 games in a season, yeah, okay, he'll get 35, 40 home runs and bat 220. That's what Hunter Renfroe is. But when you want to play that game of, okay, he'll pinch hit, or he'll platoon against lefties, or this or that, no, it's not going to work out. A swing that big, if you're not fine-tuning it every day, getting those consistent at-bats in a game situation, you're not going to be able to call upon it just at a random time. So Yeah, I know he had the grand slam in the wild card series, and that was the first grand slam in Rays playoff history and all that. That was fun and exciting and gave me some hope about maybe what he could do in October, especially returning to Petco Park, although I think that's more of a narrative than like a real thing. But 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, don't love that. Batting sixth, it was Willie Adames, 0 for 2, 2 walks. I don't think playoff Willie is a real thing. I'm just going to say that. Dave Wills keeps saying it on the broadcast. He had a good ALDS, I think. He hit 2 home runs in a best of 5 against the Astros last year. And that's fine. Watching him in the playoffs this year, I just don't see it. His eye looks good, I suppose. But he's just not. Grinds into a double play, then walks again and strikes out. He's seen a decent amount of pitches at bat, but he's just not. I don't know. He's not putting lift on the ball. He's not just. I don't know. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter either way. He's your shortstop. He's very good defensively. He anchors the infield. He came up huge tonight. I believe that was. I could just be completely. No, it was to Brenton Lau, the double play ball. I think there was a hot liner to Adames, though. It made a nice defensive play. Batting seventh, Manny Margot, 0 for 3 with a walk. Again, bottom of the order, you're not going to get anything great necessarily. Kiermaier, 2 for 4, and with a couple of doubles. So finally, Kiermaier with the extra base hits. We know he had that big home run in the ALDS, so good to see him doing his thing. I like him in the 8th spot. And then Mike Zunino was actually able to drive him in, which you'll have to see. I think he did, right? No, he did not. He drove in Willie Adames, actually, so... and that's fine. And Zunino batting ninth goes 1 for 3. Again, that RBI single, and does strike out once as well. Just to remind you again, they go 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. It was Kiermaier 0 for 2. Zunino was 1 for 2. Margot 0 for 1. Arozarena, I hate to see that, 0 for 2. And Lau is 0 for 1. Arozarena did get the home run, so I don't think he's necessarily cooled off just yet, but his other 3 at-bats were strikeouts, and they weren't necessarily good at-bats. 2 were on 1-2 counts, and then he had a 2-2 count, so I just don't know. And another point I just remember about Margot, 0 for 3 with a walk. The walk, that at-bat, he almost hit he basically hit almost 3 extra base hits. A home run that was just barely fouled down the left field line, and then I think a couple of doubles, would have been doubles, that were just fouled down the right field line, and then ends up walking on a full count anyway. So that was an interesting kind of watch to see, kind of reminiscent of that 10-pitch Brasso at bat in the 8th inning of Game 5. So I think Margot still going to give you stuff. He's still good defensively. He was an adventure out there in right. They had him in left. I don't know if that made much of a difference. As far as I know, he didn't get a whole lot of action out there. So it's fine. Just kind of a lot of lazy fly balls. No necessarily diving catches or anything of that nature. So, and credit to the Rays pitching as well. I'll transition to that now. Astros lineup that we knew coming in did not strike out. They're very good at putting the ball in play, and it made sense. They only struck out 5 times tonight against really good Rays pitching. But again, they were putting the ball in play, but not necessarily too competitively. They get 9 hits, and I think on the stat sheet that looks good. But the Rays were able to relatively contain it, and I think they got a lot of nice breaks. I saw some people. I can't verify this. I didn't really see for sure. A lot of people, a lot of Astro fans. Let me say that, belly aching on Twitter that the umpires hate the Astros. They're giving them bad calls. They're bailing out Snell. And sure, and then make no mistake, anytime there's a borderline pitch, the team that it goes against are going to go, see, the umps hate us, or the umps suck, this is why they need electronic umpires, blah, blah, blah. It's a borderline call. It has to be made one way or another. Just deal with the way that it goes. If it doesn't work in the way of your favor, that's fine. That's baseball. You have to make plays. You can't. The umpire's not going to win or really lose you the game with some extreme caveats, but I think maybe some favorable calls allowed Snell to get through the way he did. This line is extremely, extremely deceiving. 5 innings of 1-run ball, 6 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and gave up that solo home run. So he had 8 base runners, and only one of them that came around to score that was on the solo home run. But I believe he got into just a lot of trouble. Looking at the Astros, and runners on base. They leave the bases loaded twice. They leave a runner on in the first inning, the third inning. They leave 3 on in the fourth, 2 on in the sixth, 0 in the seventh, 3 in the eighth, and 1 in the ninth. And then also for the Rays, I just wanted to point this out. The final 4 innings of the game, the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, the Rays left 2 men on base in each of those innings. So I think we're getting, even though they scored the 2 runs, this is more the Rays that we know. They walk a lot. They got 5 walks against mediocre Astros pitching. They got the hits, 9 hits overall, so not bad. 6 hits. 6 hits and 5 walks. Getting base runners, that's what the Rays are. They get men on, and they can't move them over, and they can't bring them in. But they get a crap load of base runners, whether it's via the walk or just kind of the bloop single, whatever that kind of nature that it is. So I think that ultimately that's a good sign. I've said it all the time on this show. If the Rays end up faltering in the postseason, whether it's here in this round to Houston, which I don't necessarily see happening, or whether it's in the World Series, I think, spoiler alert, I mean, who really thinks otherwise? It's going to be the Dodgers in the World Series. I don't see how the Braves give them much of a run, but if they do, I think the Rays would handle the Braves pretty easily. But let's say they play the Dodgers. The Dodgers, they're basically what the Yankees should have been. I know the Dodgers have had issues with pitching as well, but that lineup that gives you nightmares day in and day out, not necessarily as big in names, but I mean, I don't know, Josh Turner and Mookie Betts. We know, I don't know why I'm blanking on so many of these guys, but you get the idea. I mean, they're another team 1 through 9 that just has such a good lineup, and Mookie Betts, I think, has kind of completely changed the way they work offensively. I think they're having him lead off mostly. I'm not exactly sure. They'll play at 8 o'clock, I think, tomorrow, so get a look at that series. But my point is, if you're going to play the Dodgers, in the World Series, in that hypothetical, you can't go 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. You can't leave 9 men on base. It's great that you're getting men on, but you have to do better, and I can guarantee you that it won't happen. Just this team has shown us time and time again that they won't succeed with runners in scoring position. This team is not made to do that, and I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's so difficult. I mean, I think back to the 2018 Rays, and they didn't necessarily, obviously they didn't have the home run hitters. That was the 90-win season where they missed the playoffs. But it's always seemed like, and they didn't get a lot of men on base either, but the timely hitting was there. They get a man on second base, boom, it's an RBI single, the next guy up. And they score 3 or 4 runs a game, but they get guys, they bring them in from scoring position. And just this year's team doesn't do that. I've kind of pointed to that as maybe to why the 2019 iteration of this team was better than this year's version. I think now you kind of debunk that because, the Rays beat the Yankees in the ALDS, and now they're probably going to be looking good in a best-of-7 against Houston, so how can they be worse than 2019? it's hard to say. This team is too streaky for my liking. I mean, guys like, and I don't want to go too far off on a thing, but like guys like Pham and Avisail Garcia, Travis d'Arnaud for the second half of that year. I mean, they were just everyday guys. They were giving you that performance. Now, this year's team, they've had to rely on guys that would catch fire and then are ice cold. So, Brandon Lau carrying them through, I guess, kind of the first half of the season. I think Arozarena has kind of carried them through the playoffs thus far. It would be different guys kind of taking turns throughout. Mike Brasso, in limited time, batted .300 this year and absolutely demolished left-handed pitching. A lot of timely hits from him. Stuff like that. It seems like the Rays, the offense might be in a little bit of a cold spot right now. And it's good that the pitching is performing well, and they're consistent, and that's what's allowed this team to succeed so much this year. But you can't keep doing this to yourself and expect to keep winning. Comes out in your favor tonight, and you take that and you run with it. Not much else really I can say there for the pitching. Again, I know this is what this show has become, just very long tangents. But I just wanted to get that out there. I guess I can be kind of in front. So if the Rays ever crash and burn, I can point and pound the table and say this is why they struggled. So. Blake Snell, again, I gave you the line already. An earned run on 6 hits, did get out of a bases-loaded jam in the 4th inning. I was correct about that. And then the race pitching got out of a bases-loaded jam again in the 8th inning. So that's what Houston is going to point to. You score 1 run, but you had the bases juiced twice. And had a ton of other innings where you left 2 men on. Another note about Snell, I'll just throw this out here now. He had 7 full counts in 21 batters faced. He allowed 1 hit and 2 walks, so 7 full counts, and he more than half of them he got for outs, and that's just when the ball bounces your way, when things just work out in your favor to that extent. The baseball gods, I guess, I don't want to tempt fate, but it just seems like they're kind of with you at that point, and it just really worked to Snell's favor tonight. Also for Snell, he faced 21 batters, threw a first pitch strike to 9 of them. That is abysmal. Can't do that. Just can't do that. Can't do it. You can't, when you fall behind hitters every at bat, and there are guys like Springer and Altuve and Brantley and Bregman and Correa and even Gurriel. I know they've got that Yordan Alvarez kid is out right now, but you can't do it because they're so good at getting in front of pitches, and when they're in hitters' counts and they know that they're going to get a pitch to hit, they're better. They're so good at putting them in play. That's the thing about the Yankees. They just don't put the ball in play enough. The Astros, they don't strike out like the Yankees do. They put the ball in play. And so if you're falling behind hitters in every at-bat like Snell does, okay, Snell was able to kind of grunt through it and get outs in 2 and 3 ball counts, but that's not always going to happen, and that's a frustration for Snell. He's become a 5-inning guy. I've just accepted that reality. He's not the Cy Young guy that's going to give you 6, 7, 8 innings. He's not. He just doesn't have the control. I don't know. I mean, it has to be incidental. He can't. I kind of thought maybe it was. You can't purposely throw that many pitches outside the zone. So many easy takes on sliders and curveballs, and we all just facepalm watching it. I don't know who Blake Snell thinks that he's fooling at this point. Everyone knows what he's going to do to attack them. It's just going to be sliders and curveballs spiked in the dirt. And he still thinks that he can get by with that. And then he has to go with the fastball and changeup is still good, but hitters now are more so than ever are just sitting on it. And again, I can go probably a full hour about Blake Snell like I do every time that he starts, it seems like. And then, so I gave you, 7 full counts, 1 hit, 2 walks, which is good, I say overall. 14 counts in 21 batters faced, so that's more than half. That's 2/3 of the batters he faced got at least 2 ball counts. So that's just, you're just throwing away pitches, non-competitive pitches, whatever your turn of phrase is for that. Just can't happen. Snell's a 5-inning guy. Morton's a 5-inning guy, so that puts a lot of pressure on Glasnow, and then I think Yarbrough's in a spot where he can give you 5 strong. So this bullpen is really going to get tested. I think it was good that you could get away with doing what you did now. Everyone's pretty much ready to go except Castillo tomorrow. Curtis got an inning with a hit and a walk, but he got out of it and got a clean 6th. Ryan Thompson worked a perfect 7th. That was nice to see. Loop only got 1 out in the 8th. And I think left with the bases loaded, I think. And then Castillo come on. First pitch got a double play ball on Yuli Gurriel. And I was going to save this for inning by inning, but I might kind of blow through that now that we're pushing on about an hour. But Yuli Gurriel, he came up with the bases loaded in the 8th inning. Andy Fried pulled it up. He was the second best guy, I think, in the majors, or maybe it was just the American League, with sacrifice hits or sacrifice flies with 5, only behind, I think, Kyle Seager of the Mariners. So I think that's right, or maybe it was Corey Seager for the Dodgers. I can't remember which one, but Yuli Gurriel, again, the sacrifice flies. You had the bases loaded with 1 out. Just a ground ball to second. And Brandon Lau got the force at second base and then had a nice throw to first. So that was huge. That was, I think, the moment of the game. And I thought maybe they'd take him out. I guess 1 pitch, you might as well let him have the 9th. And just as he did in Game 5, wow, Diego Castillo's veins are made of ice. I mean, he's really cementing himself as that dude. We all know Nick Anderson is the highest leverage reliever, but for example, tonight, there's going to be nights where Nick Anderson is not available, and perhaps Diego Castillo is, and you slide the bullpen, I guess, up or down, whatever you want to say, and Castillo becomes that number one guy, and he can give you that big clean inning, or even two. He got an inning and 2/3, and threw only 17 pitches doing so. Got into a little bit of trouble there in the ninth. They got the tying run in scoring position, but ultimately was able to work out of it. So major props to Castillo. I think he's one of the MVPs of the game. Probably, I would give it to Castillo, to be honest with you. Rosarena hits a bomb. That's fine. Big Z, the Zanino bomb came through with the RBI single. So there you go. You want takeaways. Snell grunts through 5. They get the B bullpen through, and Castillo saves their ass in loop. And then the lineup, they get men on base. This is regular season Rays right now. They get a crap load of base runners and can't do anything with them, leaving 9 on base and going 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. So with all that being said, I'm probably going to blow through it a little bit here. I'll throw out the number one more time. I don't know if you guys are shy or what's happening, but we have a line open for you at 877-566-1020 with you maybe for 15-20 minutes or so. Talk more about tonight's game and then preview tomorrow. Charlie Morton v. Lance McCullers. Let me just make sure that Mark Tompkin hasn't dropped any bombs from the post game. Okay, so we do have one. Rays say to be announced with Yarbrough available for Game 3, Glasnow for Game 4. So that makes sense. There's no point in having Glasnow start Game 3, although I guess technically you could. Push it off to Game 4, and that way Game 5 would probably be Fleming in some sort, and then Game 6 you can go Blake Snell on full rest, and then in Game 7, if there is one, you can go with Charlie Morton on full rest, and then, with Tyler Glasnow, potentially in some extent. Or if they want to go Blake Snell on short rest in Game 5, I think, in Game 5, and then backload it that way, you can do that as well. So that makes sense. So again, it'll be Yarbrough behind an opener in Game 3, and Glasnow in Game 4. That's all we've got right now. Just another note, and it's not baseball related necessarily, just watching, because the Rays were the designated home team, and we know on the Sundays they do the Columbia Blue, that's what it's called. If you don't know, it's just kind of like a baby blue with the Devil Ray hats, and it's a cool thing. They do that at Sunday home games. So this was a Sunday home game. We didn't see one of those in the playoffs last year. I didn't know. I thought they would have just gone with the home whites, but instead, they go with the Columbia Blue. And the only other time we see that outside, not in the Trop, is at spring training. And it's just so bizarre that Game 1 of the ALCS, and my mind is thinking spring training, seeing the Rays in Columbia Blue. I just thought that was an interesting just kind of thing, and it just kind of put things in perspective, made it seem a little more lax. I think this playoffs is just lacking so much juice because of no fans. It is kind of pathetic. And I don't want to get into that, whether or not that should or should not be the case. That was the decision that was made. Limited fans for World Series. If you want to pony up like $20,000 to sit in the outfield, I do not have the luxury of doing that. I've seen some Rays fans on Reddit or what have you that have bought a ticket, and that's cool. Hopefully, if they make it to the World Series. So, and also as well, the NLCS. It's in Arlington, I believe. They're going to have fans there for that. So that'll be pretty neat to see. I'll keep an eye on that. We'll be on the air when that game is on. But just seeing finally some fans. They're going to have like 10,000 in a ballpark. And then, of course, all the 1,000 of the kind of corporate box stuff, which is where all the money's going to come from anyhow. So, and enough of that. Too much incoherent rambling again. Top of the first, Blake Snell on. Gets George Springer to line out the first pitch of the at-bat. Had him 3-1, and then worked the count full. Got a line out on a fastball in, and then Jose Altuve on a 2-1 count. It was a four-seam fastball right down the middle. Jose Altuve's strike zone is so small because just of how small Altuve is. So I guess the strike zone on ESPN or wherever you look is not going to be as indicative, but it was pretty middle to be honest. 388 feet to left. Reminiscent of Game 3 when Altuve came up in the first inning and hit a bomb off of Morton. So that made it 1-0, and we didn't really know what to expect after that. Certainly not good vibes to start. Then Brantley on a 9-pitch at-bat, single to left. So that's just jacking up Snell's pitch count. Gets Bregman to fly out. Brantley steals second base, which he never does. And then Correa grounds out on a 3-1 count. So again, just 29 pitches for Blake Snell in the first inning, 17 of them for strikes. So he really had to grunt through that first inning, again reminiscent. That's what Morton did in that start against the Astros. It was 30 pitches in the first inning and 20 in the second inning, and then he still got through 5, I think, of just one run ball, I believe. So I guess good for Snell in the first inning, got through it, gave up a run. Bottom of the first against Framber Valdez, gets a 1-2-3 inning. Brasso strikes out the side. Brasso, Arozarena, Lau all go down swinging, and all in relatively pathetic at-bats. He's a guy that's got a sinker, basically his fastball, works a changeup off of that occasionally, and then has a nice curveball. He only worked the changeup twice in that first inning, but just made the hitters look ridiculous. Brandon Lau, who made mention that he kind of let the team down in the ALDS, and that he promised it wouldn't happen again. Okay, what's the box score tonight? 1 for 2? 2 strikeouts? Okay, I guess that's fine. Let me just see. Yeah, okay. But he got an infield single with the bases clear. Top of the second, Blake Snell on, gets a 1-2-3 inning. Tucker flies out, Gurriel flies out, and gets Aldamas Diaz to strike out. 13-pitch inning, 10 for strikes, getting back on the right track. Was 42 pitches after 2 innings, so not horrible with the pacing. We all knew he was not going more than 5 anyhow. Bottom of the second, Valdez walks Yandy Diaz. Again, the Cuban god of walks. I'm starting the movement now on a full count. Started him off 3-0, and then took a sinker, middle, took a curveball that caught a lot of the plate. Took 2 strikes looking with 3 balls, fine, and then took a curveball. Easy take for the leadoff walk. Renfroe strikes out swinging, and Adames grounds into the double play. At least he put it in play there to end the inning. After 2, Rays down 1-0. Top of the third, Blake Snell still on. Gets the catcher Maldonado to fly out on a 2-0 count. So there you go. George Springer singles on a 1-2 count. It was a fastball that ran a bit up and in at 96, and Springer was able to pull it to left field. He got caught in a rundown. I don't know why he tried to no, was that right? No, that was Brantley. So Springer got caught in a rundown trying to steal second, so that basically removes that. 2 outs, bases clear, and Altuve singles, and then gets Brantley to fly out. So there you go. 15 pitches in the third, 9 for strikes, not bad. Got caught a break there. If Springer didn't get, I guess, caught stealing, he could have had maybe runners at the corners, whatever the case is. Bottom of the third, finally got a good look. Margot grounds out. Kiermaier doubles to deep right on the first pitch that he sees. We know we caught it early before anyone else. Kiermaier saw it in the wild card series. He's got that Superman complex. We know that about him. He wants to be the hero every day. That's just who Kevin Kiermaier is. He swings at the first pitch, basically like every at-bat in the playoffs. Got a curveball that was middle into him, and was able to pull it to deep right. So they got a runner at second with 1 out, and then he's, for whatever, I don't know, I mean, I guess that's a sign or whatever, but he gets caught stealing third, which you don't really see that often, and then Zunino flies out anyway. So after 3, again, it was still 1-0 Astros. Top of the fourth, Blake Snell got into a lot of trouble. Alex Bregman leadoff single on an 8-pitch at-bat. It just sucks to see those super long at-bats, and then they don't go their way. Then Carlos Correa walks. 2 men on, no outs. Fortunately, so it was not bases loaded, I don't believe. Or maybe it was. Kyle Tucker lines into a double play to shortstop. They got... so the line out, and then it was... Brandon Lau unassisted, I think, to the bag. So that way it was 2 outs with a runner at third base. Gurriel walks, so that way they've got a couple men on. Aldamas Diaz reaches on an infield single, and I think that should have been ruled an error. It was right off the glove of Blake Snell, and that reloaded the bases, and then the catcher Maldonado lines out, ultimately, to end things. It was on a changeup away, so there you go. Got out of it. Through 4, That fourth inning, he had thrown 28 pitches, 14 for strikes. So he had basically two 30-pitch innings, 29 in the first and 28 in the fourth. So, and didn't give up any runs. And this one gave up the solo shot in the first inning. So Snell's good at working out of his own jams, I guess. There you go. Bottom of the fourth, the Rays get on the board. Brasso grounds out. Then a Randy Arozarena was a sinker up and away, 413 feet to center. Arozarena's crushing fastball, struck out most of his times on off-speed stuff, so there you go. Attack the fastball, tie game 1-1. Then Lau reaches on an infield single, but then Yandy Diaz and Hunter Renfroe strike out. Top of the fifth, really a good 1-2-3 inning for Snell, getting the big boys the third time through. Gets Springer to strike out, Altuve to ground out, Brantley to ground out. Just to give you an idea, the first time through the order against Snell, the Astros got 2 hits, no walks, 1 strikeout, 1 run on that solo shot. Took him 45 pitches to get through. And then the second time through the order, 4 hits, 2 walks, no strikeouts, no runs. And then I got the 1-2-3 hitters to go down in order in the fifth. So his day was done. Again, to give you the line, it was 5 innings pitched, an earned run on 6 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and with that solo home run. So put it in the books as a good start, and he did get the win. So there you go. Bottom of the fifth, Rays get what ended up being the game-winning run. Adames, leadoff walk. Those usually come around pretty nicely. Just pitches way inside to him, I guess. Ball 4, I think, was probably a strike. It looks to be right here. So he's on first. Then Margot grounds out, but moves Adames over to second. Good base running for Willie to get a man in scoring position with 1 out. Then Kiermaier grounds out, moves Adames to third. Zunino, first pitch that he sees, a sinker. Middle away from him. And he pulls it to score. Adames, great to see. Rays up 2-1, never looked back. Brasso gets on base via an error, and then Arozarena struck out swinging. Top of the sixth, John Curtis on, works through a little bit of trouble. Bregman singles to right, leadoff hit. Then Correa grounds into a fielder's choice, so it's just an out, runner at first. Then Tucker grounds out, moves Correa over to second, tying run at second base. Then on a pass ball, gets to third base. 90 feet away is the tying run. Yuli Gurriel walks, and 4 pitches. I think they knew, or no, with 2 outs, that doesn't matter. But they didn't give him anything to hit. Curtis, it was just all fastballs away. I don't understand that. Couldn't find the zone. And then Aldames Diaz grounds out on the first pitch. So there you go. Curtis gets out of that little trouble, tying run 90 feet away. That's a lot of trouble, to be honest with you. Valdez gets through the sixth for the Stros. Lau grounds out. Diaz walks. Renfroe strikes out. Adames walks, so a couple men on, 2 outs, and then Margot leaves him there. Takes 2 strikes looking right down the middle, and then grounds out on another curveball. So not a great at-bat for him there. Top of the seventh, Thompson gets a very easy 1-2-3. Strikes out the catcher, Maldonado, but then also gets Springer and Altuve. So that was nice to see. Get through those top 2 hitters and do it easily in the seventh. Bottom of the seventh, against a reliever, didn't do anything really. Well, against, Blake Taylor. Kevin Kiermaier doubles. Zunino strikes out, then Brasso gets hit by a pitch. They bring in the righty to get Arozarena, and they get him to strike out, and then he has to face Brandon Lau and strikes him out too. So Arozarena struck out on the slider, Brandon Lau struck out on the fastball. So Lau is frustrating to watch. Kind of same with Meadows, to be completely honest with you, but we'll probably see both of them in the lineup tomorrow. Top of the eighth inning. Rays up 2-1. Who do you go to in the bullpen? You go to Aaron Loup, obviously. Aaron Loup, first pitch to Mike, and you have him face Michael Brantley, Alex Bregman, and Carlos Correa. Just Kevin Cash is toying with us at this point. First pitch just hits, just a sinker way in. Hits Brantley to put him at first. Basically a leadoff walk. Strikes out Bregman, so you're thinking, okay, he'll maneuver around this. Then a wild pitch, so you basically spot the tying run at second base. So Brantley standing at second with 1 out. Walks Correa, first and second with 1 out. Then Tucker, single to load the bases. Thankfully, I think it was hit sharp enough that the left fielder, Margot, was able to keep it. He wouldn't have made a throw to home plate. He just doesn't have that arm. So that could have gone a lot sideways, and it really should have, to be honest with you. Bases loaded, 1 out. Rays 2-1 lead. A base hit would give the Stros the lead. Obviously, Loop comes out, and what Kevin Cash did not want to do, put in Diego Castillo. Again, Yuli Gurriel, one of the best sacrifice hitters, with 1 out and a runner at third. What does he do? Sees a sinker. It's up and into him, and I guess chokes up on it or whatever. Grounds into a double play. It was, I think Brandon Lau got it, stepped on the bag at second, whipped it over to first. So there you go. There's your double play. One pitch, 2 outs for Diego Castillo. Stros leave the bases loaded for a second time in the contest. They're down to their final 3 outs. Bottom of the 8th, Rays had a chance maybe to do something, add on some insurance. Diaz reaches on an infield single. Weird to see him legging out a hit. He's usually not that guy. And then Joey Wendell runs for him, so that way you just have Brasso come over from third to play first, and just Wendell goes over to play third. It's fine. Defensive replacement, I think, would have been made anyway, so there you go. Renfroe strikes out. Adama strikes out. Margot walks on a 9-pitch at-bat again where he hit like 3 extra base hits, just foul. 1 was a home run, and then a couple doubles probably was. Kiermaier then pops out to leave him there. So he went, got that over and runners in scoring position. Top of the 9th, they do leave Castillo on. Not a whole lot of challenges. You had to face Aldemus Diaz, Martin Maldonado, who they pinch hit for, and then George Springer were the scheduled hitters. So you get into any trouble, and then you're going to have to see Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, and then Correa. Gets Aldemus Diaz out, lines them out. 2-2 count. That's good. It's a nice pitch, slider. Then Josh Reddick pinch hits for Martin Maldonado. He reaches on an infield single to get a runner on. Then they pinch run for Miles Straw for him. George Springer grounds out, moves him over to second base. So, tying run at second, Jose Altuve, 2017 MVP. I don't think he had the trash cans this time. Strikes out, swinging on a fastball way outside the zone. A real highlight clip to just see him whiff. I think he only batted like .219 this year after being like a plus. He was like a .320 hitter or something as an MVP. Obviously, they proved it was with cheating. I think 2017, the year that he won the MVP. I hate to say it, probably should have gone to Aaron Judge, but whatever. I wanted to throw that jab in, not necessarily professional or anything like that, but what is the William Haynes show if it's not taking jabs at people? Anyway, 2-1 win, gutsy performance. I think it's big to have game 1. I think the Rays would have really been kicking themselves. I don't know. They catch some tough breaks. They should have lost this game. You can't be this bad with runners in scoring position and throw out Aaron Loop in that spot and have Blake Snell really pitch the way he did and only hold the Astros lineup to 1 run. It's absolutely bizarre. I'm beside myself just even trying to find the words to describe it. I don't want to keep it just oversaying it. They got to be better with men on base, does the offense. So we'll see how they do tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, 4:07 on TBS. Game 2, Lance McCullers Jr. against Charlie Morton. Taking a look at Charlie Morton. We know the 5 innings of 1-run ball. I tell you all the time, this is what Charlie Morton is. 5 innings of 1 run and about 95 pitches. Only needed 86 to get through it. Looking back to his last playoff appearance against the Astros, it was Game 3 of the ALCS last season. The Rays were down 2-0 in the series against elimination. 5 innings of 1-run ball. Gutsy performance again. He 30 pitches in the first inning. Jose Altuve took him deep, and then a 20-pitch second inning, and was still able to navigate through 5 innings, throwing 93 pitches. And then the wild card game with the 5 innings of no run ball, an unearned run there. So again, postseason Morton, that's what he is. I'll tell you all the time, I guarantee it. 5 innings, 1 run. That's what you're going to get from him. So he's anything if consistent. So I think you like that. And Lance McCullers Jr., I think we saw him in like 2018, but doesn't mean much. He's a Tampa native, actually. He's got 1 postseason appearance in a game against Oakland. Let me just take a peek what game that was. And they're not. They always make it so difficult. So, and in game 1, he starts game 1 against Oakland. 4 innings, 4 runs and 8 hits, 3 home runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, 75 pitches. So, got lit up pretty good. The right-hander, 3-3 with a 3.93 ERA. By the way, just let me throw this out here. Charlie Morton's regular season stats, I forgot. 2-2, a 4.74 ERA, but doesn't really matter too much. I'm seeing I see a 7-inning start against Texas. That doesn't matter. Didn't record an out in a game against the Angels. 6 innings against the A's, 7 innings against the Giants, 6 innings against the Mariners. Any of his decent starts are against absolutely just crummy lineups. I mean, name one hitter on the Rangers or the Mariners that are better than any Rays hitter. They don't have anybody. So, and that's the thing about the Astros is, and same thing with Framber Valdez. If I had previewed this game, I would have told you he had the 7-inning, 8-inning starts, but they were against, again, the Mariners and the Rangers and the Giants. Those just crummy teams in the West and the American and National League. So, Lance McCullers Jr., I know he came off the Tommy John this year. I don't know. I saw someone got him to delete his Twitter account, too, which was like and this was like a week ago. I think it was Jared Carabas, if you're familiar. I don't want to get into it. You can probably find it yourself. It's just really funny. Someone just tweeted just a mild joke at him, and he got McCullers Jr. to delete his Twitter account. It was so bizarre. So I don't know. Maybe the Rays can get under his skin tomorrow. Look at our right-hander with the roster. Let me just throw this out here as well before I forget. As far as I could amount the A pen guys for the Astros, Blake Taylor, Christian Javier, Enoli Paredes, and Ryan Presley right now is their closer because Roberto Osuna is injured right now. He's busy respecting women, as some of my listeners would like to say. So, let's see. Guys that came in tonight, so they did use Paredes and they did use Taylor. So they did use two of their big guys, and also I said Taylor. So yeah, it was good. I guess they got through some of the A pen, whatever it is. I mean, it's crummy. The pitching for Houston is absolutely abysmal. I don't see a McCullers gives them more than maybe 4 or 5 innings again. They're going to burn up that bullpen again. They don't have the chops with the pitching to make it through this series. I mean, they're going to be worn out. I don't know if Zach Greinke's going to pitch. I don't know if he's still injured or what the case is, and he hasn't even been that good in the postseason. I know he got lit up pretty good, so I don't know. For the Rays against a righty, stack the lefties. Probably, honestly, against McCullers Jr., I would go 7 lefties and just attack them. So I'd go Perez at catcher. Infield, give me Wendell at third, Adames at shortstop, Brendan Lau at second base, G-Man Choi at first. And the outfield, I'll take Meadows in left, Kiermaier in center. Or no, give me Margot in left, sorry. Kiermaier in center, Meadows in right. And, well, can I do that? I can't put Randy on the bench. I gotta, I know I'm all over the place, sorry. So, final answer. Arozarena in left. Kiermaier in center. Austin Meadows in right. I think that'll work out. And then I'll have Yoshi Tsutsugo, the lefty bat, be the DH. So I believe, if my math is correct, that was probably 6 or 7 of the left-handers. And then off the bench, you'd have Zunino, Brasso, Yandy Diaz, and Manny Margot, and also Hunter Renfroe. So you'd have those right-handers coming off the bench, need be. Bullpen, if they're winning, Nick Anderson would be good to go on 2 days rest from that long outing he had. He may need another day, I don't know. Castillo won't be available. Alvarado would be available. I don't know why I still consider him part of the A pen. John Curtis may be available. Pete Fairbanks will be. Shane McClanahan, Sleggers, Thompson. So, I don't know. Pretty much everyone's in play. Hopefully, they'll get the win, and they'll have, with the Nick Anderson shutting it down for the save, and we can talk about them being up 2-0. Again, the game is on at 4:07, I think, 4:30 Let me just check to be sure. I can't give you false information. It's at 4:07. The Dodgers Braves is on at 8, so that'll be good and fun to see. Again, that's my lineup, pitching staff, whatever. Charlie Morton will get through 5. I'll piece it together the rest of the way like they always do. I don't see how McCullers Jr. is going to shut us down. Stack the lefties, do your thing. Also, for what it's worth, the Lakers beat the Heat, and they win the NBA Finals. Do the Lakers? Everyone's crying, whatever. They actually get to celebrate with champagne. I'm a little bit jealous. I wish the boys in San Diego could have done the same and gone wild about beating the Yankees. But it is what it is. Again, we'll be back 7, 8 o'clock, whatever. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Good show tonight, as always. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.
W